At the start of the film, Margaret White, a religious fanatic who is wrong about everything and thinks everything is wrong, especially if it has to do with women, their bodies, or sex. In the first scene, she is writhing in pain on her bloody bed and yelling at God to forgive her. She is so out of touch with reality that she thinks she has cancer and is dying when, in fact, she is in labor. When the pain finally stops, she pulls out a pair of knives and gets ready to kill the baby. But she can't do it. The girl's name turns out to be Carrie. Over the years, Margaret makes Carrie follow her religious views and doesn't let her have any freedom. For most of her life, she has kept herself from having friends, talking to guys, and going to school. When Carrie turns 16, people who fight for children's rights force Margaret to let her go to high school. But Carrie is always made fun of because she doesn't like people and is shy. She never talks to anyone, and when girls show cleavage or couples kiss, she just stares. She doesn't know anything about dating. When the kids at school were playing water volleyball one day, Carrie accidentally hit Sue in the head. Chris, Sue's friend, makes fun of Carrie, which makes everyone laugh. After class, they change in the shower room. Carrie's first period comes while she's in the shower, and she starts to freak out. She has never learned about her period or anything else about how a woman's body works. She thinks she is going to die because blood is running down her legs. She runs around and asks the girls for help in a panic. Chris laughs at Carrie because he knows she doesn't know what menstruation is. Soon, all the other girls join in and start throwing tampons at her as they film her crying. Sue feels bad for Carrie, but she doesn't stop the girls because she doesn't want to be a social outsider like Carrie. Only when Ms. Desjardins, the gym teacher, gets there do they stop. Carrie has a panic attack and continues to scream and cry even after the other girls stop. The teacher slaps her in the face to calm her down. As the girls walk away, Carrie gets angry and looks at the light bulb. As she does, it breaks. When the director hears about what happened, he tells Ms. Desjardins to punish the bullies in whatever way she thinks is best. He also tells Carrie to calm down because they've called her mother, but it makes her even more nervous to think that her mother might find out that she has period. She starts to breathe too fast, and a water cooler in the room suddenly breaks. Later, when Margaret came to get her daughter, she saw Chris and her boyfriend. She doesn't want her daughter to be around people like that, so she prays to God to show the spoiled kids how to live right. Carrie asks Margaret on the way home why she never told her about her period, but Margaret doesn't answer. Before Carrie gets out of the car, a kid from next door calls her a weirdo. He falls off his bike when she looks at him. She has had similar strange things happen to her, and she doesn't know why. Inside the house, Margaret is hitting her head against the wall and apologizing to God for having a girl who will one day sin like she did with her former husband. She even makes up fake Bible texts to try to convince Carrie that having a period and bleeding are sins, and that she is now a sinner. Carrie knows her mother is lying because Ms. Desjardins already told her everything she needed to know about menstruation. She tells him that it's normal and that all girls have it. Margaret hits her in the head with a Bible because of this. She puts her in a small praying closet and tells her she can only come out when she has asked God to forgive her. When Carrie gets mad, she yells, which makes the door shake. Then she looks at a statue of Jesus that is bleeding. Sue and her boyfriend, Tommy, are in his car somewhere else. Sue tells him that she feels bad that she didn't help Carrie in the shower room after she got dressed. At the same time, Chris is at her house with her boyfriend, Billy. She doesn't feel sorry at all, unlike Sue, even though she was the one who started the bullying. She puts the video of the event on the internet to make Carrie feel even worse. Back at home, Margaret is making clothes and singing songs in a calm way. It's almost like she doesn't remember what happened with her daughter earlier. She lets Carrie out of the closet in the end after making sure that she prayed to God. The next day at school, Chris, Sue, and all the other girls participating are gathered by Ms. Desjardins. As a punishment, they will have to do death runs for an hour every day for the rest of the week. Anyone who doesn't listen won't be allowed to go to the upcoming prom. Chris says that the punishment is a bunch of crap and dares Ms. Desjardins to stop her from going to prom. Ms. Desjardins is so angry that she suspends her and takes away her right to go to the prom. Chris tries to protest and get the other girls to join her, but no one, not even her best friend Sue, backs her up. In the meantime, everyone at Carrie's school has seen the video of her being picked on. They make fun of her and even write on her locker, "Carrie White eats shit." She feels ashamed and angry, so she goes to the bathroom and stares at the mirror, which breaks because of her. Carrie finally starts to understand that she has psychokinesis, which means she can move things and people with her mind alone. She goes to the library and reads several books about psychokinesis to find out more about her power. The story makes her think that having such power is normal for some people, just like having periods. In the next class, she is asked to stand up front and read a poem. When she's done, Sue's boyfriend Tommy whispers an insult, but when asked to say it out loud, he says Carrie's poem was great. Carrie is surprised and shy about the guy's praise. While this is going on, Chris calls her lawyer father to the school to try to get her prom invitation back. She plays the victim and says that Ms. Desjardins hurt her with her words. Ms. Desjardins asks for her phone, which has a video of her bullying Carrie, to show her that she is wrong. But Chris won't give it back, which shows that she is guilty. Carrie tries to exert her power at night by putting books and her bed in the air. Margaret hears a noise, so she takes a knife and goes upstairs to check it out. By then, Carrie is acting like she's sleeping, so she puts down the knife. The next day, Sue asks Tommy, who is also her boyfriend, to take Carrie to the prom. She thinks Carrie deserves to have one fun night, so she is willing to skip her senior prom for her. Tommy wants to go with Sue, but he agrees only after being told over and over again. Then he approaches Carrie and asks her to prom. Carrie is shocked, so she thinks he is playing a joke on her and runs away. Ms. Desjardins finds her in the change room later, crying. Carrie tells her about Tommy's request when she asks what's wrong. The teacher cares about Carrie, but she also knows that Tommy doesn't like her. She finds Sue and Tommy and tells them to change their minds if they want to make Carrie look bad. Tommy drives to Carrie's house after school, which scares her because she doesn't want her mom to know that she talks to boys. He says he won't leave unless she agrees to go to the prom with him. Carrie says yes, but only if he promises to take her home by 10:30 p.m. She can't wait to be just like the other kids. She goes shopping to find a dress for prom, but none of the ones she likes are in her price range. So she buys fabric so she can make one herself. Chris gets angry when he sees Carrie shopping. She and her friends are planning to trick her at prom. When Carrie gets home, she finds Margaret waiting for her, and she is angry. She tells her mother, Margaret, that she wants to go to prom, but Margaret tells her that she can't. Carrie gets angry and lifts things to get them out of her system. Margaret prays to God because she thinks her daughter has been taken over by the devil. Carrie tells her to stop talking, but Margaret prays even louder. In the end, she makes her mother float, which makes her stop talking. After a while, she lets her go and says that the talk is over. At the same time, Chris and Billy and their group of friends are at a farm. They cut the throat of a pig to get blood. Then they break into the gym, which is where the prom is taking place. They set up the pail with the pig blood so that when Carrie is on stage, they can dump it on her. On the night of the prom, Carrie gets ready and puts on a little bit of makeup. She is beautiful, but she is very nervous. Margaret tells her to dress more modestly, but Carrie doesn't argue. Margaret tells her daughter that everyone will laugh at her, which makes Carrie even more nervous than she already is. Before she leaves, she locks her mother in the prayer room. Tommy doesn't know what to say when he sees her. They go to the prom together, and Tommy tells his friends about her. Ms. Desjardins also tells her that she looks great and tells her to have fun. Over time, she relaxes and feels a lot better around Tommy. After a while, they danced slowly together. Carrie's night couldn't get any better, but then Billy and Chris broke into the place. They wait for the temporary stage to end so that they can carry out their plan. They have fixed the vote for prom king and queen so that Carrie and Tommy win. When the pair goes up to the stage to get their award, they will drop the bucket of blood on her. Before the election, Chris sends Sue a text message saying that they are going to make Carrie look bad. Sue runs to the prom to stop her because she's scared. Tommy and Carrie will soon be named prom king and queen. Everyone cheers for them as they are called to the stage. Sue also gets to the building and sees Chris in the rafters, just seconds away from throwing the blood on Carrie. Ms. Desjardins sees Sue and thinks she's here to ruin the moment, so she locks her in a room and doesn't hear what she has to say. At last, Chris pulls the rope, which causes the blood to fall on Carrie. She also breaks into the computer and plays the video from the day she got her period. When Ms. Desjardins steps forward to help her, everyone laughs, but Carrie is no longer able to think straight. Everyone gasps as she pushes Ms. Desjardins back without touching her. The pail lands lands on Tommy's head a few seconds later, killing him right away. Carrie loses control of her power, and with a single scream, she drives the crowd away. Chris and Billy make it to their car and get away. Carrie locks all the doors and windows when the others try to get out. Next, she throws the tables and chairs at the crowd, killing each person one by one. She also holds some girls down on the ground so that they can be crushed to death. When she breaks the stage lights and electric lines, the place starts to burn. She makes sure that Mez Desjardins is safe on stage and then takes care of the rest of the crowd. Then she flies outside to look for Chris and Billy. They get in their car and drive away, but they are followed. Billy tries to run her over with his car, but Carrie stops it with her magic. Billy hits his head and dies right away. Chris tries to run over her again, but Carrie drives the car into a gas station to stop him. Then she watches Chris slowly die while he is stuck to the window. After that, she goes home and sees that her mother isn't in the room where she prays. She takes a bath to get rid of all the blood. Margaret finally walks up to her, and Carrie hugs her mother and tells her that she was right about everyone laughing at her. Margaret thinks she is being punished for sinning with her husband, so she uses a butcher knife to stab Carrie. Margaret goes crazy and follows Carrie into the kitchen as she tries to save herself. She holds Carrie down and is about to stab her again when Carrie uses her power to stop her. She throws several dangerous things at Margaret, which ties her up on a cross. Then, as her mother is dying, she cries and feels bad about what she did. In the end, she uses her power to break down the house. Sue comes to the house at that moment and tries to stop Carrie. She is about to kill her too, but stops when she finds out that Sue is pregnant. Carrie gives a smile and says it's a girl. She sends Sue outside to get her out of the room before the roof falls. Soon after, Margaret and Carrie die when the house falls on them. A few months later, Sue is in pain while giving birth in a hospital bed. Then, all of a sudden, a bloody hand comes out of her. She wakes up and realizes it was all a dream. Her mother calms her down when she starts to hyperventilate because she thinks she is going to give birth to Carrie. Hello, and welcome to Best Movies Explained in Less Time. Today, I'm going to talk about the drama/thriller movie called Intruders. Spoilers are coming up. Watch out and be careful. Anna Rook is in her late 20s, and she has a serious worry problem that affects many parts of her life. Kennard, her older brother, is dying of pancreatic cancer. The brothers also keep deep secrets in different parts of the house, and they are always careful about who they let in. One night, Anna is alone in her room and is playing with an old key. She hears a strange sound coming from the darkness, but it's just Kennard sitting outside. He asks her to come with him, but Anna turns him down in a rude way. Because of her worry problem, she hasn't left the house in more than 10 years. Charlotte, who is Kennard's lawyer, joins them the next morning. She has been called to talk about Conrad's will and what Anna will get after he dies. But Anna is not ready for that chat yet. Then we meet Dan, who works as a delivery man and brings food for the family every morning. Dan is the only person besides Conrad that Anna likes to talk to. He is kind, and over the time he has worked for them, he has won her heart. They are talking when they hear a loud thud coming from Conrad's room. Anna runs to her brother and puts him back on the bed. They hang out together all day and talk about different things. Conrad talks about their father and asks Anna to forgive him, but this just makes Anna mad. A few hours later, Anna's alarm goes off and wakes her up. She runs to Conrad's room, where she finds him already dead. Even though Anna knew this was going to happen, nothing could have prepared her for the death of her brother. After the rescuers take his body away, she cleans the whole house and gets rid of all of his drugs. Dan helps Anna when she is at her worst and gives her a shoulder to cry on. He tells her to sell the house and move somewhere else, but Anna doesn't want to leave the house. Dan tells them that he wants to leave this place, but can't because he doesn't have enough money. Anna goes without saying goodbye and comes back a few minutes later with a bag full of cash. She wants him to take it and use it to make his life better. Dan, on the other hand, won't take it, even though Anna says she has more money than she needs. The funeral will be the next day. Anna gets ready to leave, but at the last minute, her worry gets the best of her. She really wants to say goodbye to her brother one last time, but she ends up staying home and getting lost in her thoughts. All of a sudden, a car pulls up in front of the house, and 3 guys get out. They look out the window to make sure no one is home so they can break in. Anna starts to worry, but before she can call for help, one of the guys, JP breaks the back door and lets the other two in. JP seems to be in charge, and his brother Vance and his friend Perry help him. The thieves think that Anna is at the funeral, but when the kettle makes a noise, it shows that she is not there. She runs upstairs quickly while the guys look for her all over the house. Perry finds her hidden in her room, which makes her run down the stairs. Anna gets to the front door before he can catch up to her. She could easily run outside and save her life, but she freezes because of her worry. JP shuts the door gently and asks her why she didn't run away. When she was hiding upstairs, she could have called the cops, but she didn't. The guys think it's weird, but all they care about is where she has hidden the money. Perry keeps an eye on Anna while JP and his brother Vance keep looking for the money. She tells him that she has nervousness and hasn't left the house in over 10 years. Perry is interested in her and wants to see for himself if she is telling the truth. He drags her outside by force, making her pass out. Anna pees her pants when JP picks her up to help her. Vance is told to take her to her room and clean her up while the other two look for the money bag. In the end, they find a basement with 2 doors that do not have locks. The doors must go somewhere, but you can't open them. Either Conrad or Anna wanted to keep these rooms a secret, which is clear. Vance, on the other hand, is still trying to change Anna. He is the weakest of the 3, and he won't hurt someone for money. Anna sees this too, and she tries to get him to help her. She gets him to agree with her to some extent, but he finally figures out what she's up to. In a fit of anger, he tries to force her to change, but the delivery guy, Dan, comes and stops him. He was at Conrad's funeral, but Anna wasn't there, so he came to check on her. Anna is glad that she finally has someone to help her, but when Dan calls Vance by name, he shows that they know each other. She goes crazy when she finds out that Dan is also with the robbers. She runs downstairs and hides somewhere where the thieves can't find her. Dan isn't in their group. JP and Perry find him and knock him out, which shows that he isn't one of them. After looking for Anna for a few minutes, Perry loses his temper and threatens to kill her pet bird if she doesn't show up. Anna stays hidden, so Perry kills the poor bird with a hammer. Dan has woken up by now, but JP ties his hands together and shoves him onto the couch while the thieves are busy with him. Anna runs to the bathroom while making noise. Vance is about to get her when Anna stabs him in the neck, killing him instantly. The other two are still with Dan, but they think something is wrong because of the strange silence. They ask Vance to talk, but all they hear is Anna dragging his body down to the basement. Soon, they find the blood on the floor and follow it to where Vance's body is lying. JP cries as he holds his brother and promises to get revenge for his death. For the 2 people who make it out alive, the task turns out to be much more than just a robbery. Perry sees Anna behind a door at that moment, but she locks it before he can get in. Then she runs into her room and gets the key she was playing with at the start of the movie. The key is then used to turn a handle on a panel to open it. When you pull it, the stairs to the basement go back in, and Perry and JP are stuck inside. Anna makes sure they can't go outside by checking on them. After some time, the robbers try to break out of the basement by breaking the doors, but they are not allowed to use any force. Dan tells everyone outside that he knows Vance and told him about the money yesterday. He feels bad because he didn't know that what he did would lead thieves to her house. Anna still won't untie his hands, and she continues to ask him about Conrad's funeral. He tells her what happened and asks what Conrad would have done in the same position. Anna thinks about it for a while, then breaks his finger and leads him to the door of the basement. He is standing on the edge of the wall because there are no steps. Anna tells him to jump into the basement to show he is not guilty. When he refuses, she pushes him herself. Dan cries out in pain as he holds his out-of-place knee. Anna then goes into a secret box that has a live video feed of the basement. After a while, she comes to check on them, and JP tortures Dan so that she will feel sorry for them. Anna tells them to use the first aid kit that is in one of the 2 locked rooms with no doorknobs. Now that Anna has changed the settings from upstairs, JP can open one of the doors, but as soon as he walks into the room, she hits a button and locks the door behind him. JP finds it very odd that the room looks exactly like the one he saw upstairs. Perry tries to break the second door in the meantime, and after many tries, he is able to do it. When he opens the freezer, he finds dead bodies inside. Perry runs outside, shocked to the core, and runs right into Anna. She can't let him live now that he's seen things he shouldn't have. She hits him on the head with a hammer. Before he loses too much blood and dies, the man is about to choke her to death. Dan manages to get outside and into the second room, where he sees the dead bodies and realizes that something is very wrong. At the same time, Charlotte goes to see Anna because she hasn't been picking up the phone when Charlotte calls. Anna acts like nothing is wrong and comes up with a reason for the noise coming from the basement. Charlotte doesn't think much of it, and she leaves after making sure Anna is okay. Anna goes to the basement after she leaves and finds Dan by the freezer. She puts him in a closet that goes to the room where JP is locked up. She keeps an eye on them through a one-way mirror in the room. JP finds this out and tries to break the glass, but Anna tells him it can't be done. Then she makes him put on a shirt from the closet. Conrad and Anna used to give guys drugs and then lock them in this room. Conrad then joined the victims in the cupboard and tortured them while Anna watched through the mirror. JP wants to know why the room was copied and whose shirt he's wearing. Then it comes out that Anna's father sexually abused her even when she was a kid. Then one day, Conrad killed their father by strangling him, and she looked up to him. Since then, they have been bringing known sexual abusers into the house and killing them once they get there. Anna thinks they did the right thing because the criminals earned what they got, but JP says that she and her brother are both killers. After killing their father, they felt good and wanted to do it again and again. Anna goes crazy over the claims and gives Dan a gun so that he can kill G. She wants him to pay for what he has done because she thinks that will help him. Dan moves out of the way, and JP grabs the gun. He is about to kill Dan, but Anna stops him and tells him to do the impossible. She says that he killed his brother and that death is the only way for him to be saved. At first, it looks like JP is giving in to what she wants, but then he snaps out of it and points the gun at Dan again. Anna opens the door and lets them out just before he is shot. Dan doesn't want to leave yet, but JP helps him get out of the house. He is angry and wants to get even as he looks at Vance's dead body. Dan tries to get him to let go of everything, but he punches him in the face instead. JP goes back into the house and starts putting gasoline all over it. Anna gives him the bag of money to try to get him to leave, but he won't take it and strikes her. During the fight that follows, Anna gets away and runs upstairs, but JP finds her and says he has an idea. By beating her up, he wants her to remember the bad times she had with her father. Even worse for Anna is the fact that he is wearing her father's shirt. Just then, Dan walked into the room, which gave Anna a chance to shoot JP dead. Both Dan and Anna are silent as they look at the dead body. When they get downstairs, Dan doesn't say anything and just leaves. Anna spends about an hour in the living room before she finally chooses to leave the house. She can finally leave the house without hyperventilating because she no longer has a fear of being alone. In the last scene, she sets fire to the house and leaves. Ellen Ashland goes into seclusion to heal after an attack leaves her blind. Soon, though, she starts to feel paranoid and can't convince anyone that her attacker has come back to scare her by hiding in plain sight. At the beginning of the movie, a young girl is sad and all by herself. She then makes the choice to jump off the balcony of her apartment. Scenes change to show the same young woman named Helen a month earlier. One night, someone wearing a gas mask and pouring chemicals in her eyes beats her up badly in a parking lot. She is taken to the hospital right away. Soon, Omar, a nurse, comes to take off the bandages. As soon as the bandages come off, she learns she can't see. After that, a doctor named Katsuro comes into her room. He says that the poison she was exposed to burned but did not damage her visual nerve. In plain English, the damage can't be fixed, and she is now totally blind. Ellen is upset and only slowly comes to terms with the fact that she will never see him again. Then, a police officer named Bryce comes and asks her about what happened. Detective Bryce asks her what she knows, and she tells him. A few minutes later, Ellen talks on the phone with her brother, who is in Tokyo. He tells her that he has set up a secret apartment close to the city center for her to live in, along with a guardian who helps people who are adjusting to their new lifestyles like her. The next morning, Ellen wakes up in her new flat and meets Clayton, who will look after her. Clayton says that it's because the drugs she's on are so strong that she doesn't remember the ride home from the hospital. Clayton tells her that he is a trained caregiver and will help Ellen with her daily tasks and help her adjust to being blind slowly. Every day at 11 a.m., he will go to her house and leave at 2 p.m. He also tells Ellen that she is now living in her new apartment on the 9th floor of the building and shows her how it is set up. Ellen tries to call her friend Sasha and her brother after Clayton leaves, but neither of them answers when she calls. She feels so alone because neither her family nor her friends are there for her during this hard time. The next day, Ellen sees that when she stands next to one of her windows, she can hear the noise from the busy street below, but when she stands next to another window, she can't hear anything. Clayton tells her that the glass is thicker there, so she won't hear anything. Then they both tell each other about their lives, and they slowly become close. Then Ellen asks Clayton if she can touch his face, and he says yes. That night, Ellen hears a woman crying while being hurt by someone, but it turned out that the crying sound came from the vent. The next day, she decides to call her neighbor for tea. She walks out into the hallway and puts a post-it note on the door of the apartment next door, asking the woman to join her for tea. That night, a woman named Lana comes to Ellen's house for tea by knocking on the door. She knows Ellen used to play the violin but lost her sight, but she acts strange. Even though she just met Ellen, she seems to know a lot about her. Ellen touches Lana's face and is surprised to feel a new scar there. Lana tells her that she shouldn't trust anyone. She quickly leaves the room. Ellen starts to believe that Lana's husband is hurting her physically. So Ellen goes to Detective Bryce and tells him that her neighbor's husband is hurting her. Officer Neiman is sent by Detective Bryce to talk to her friend and make sure that everything is okay. He finds out later that she is fine and that the scar was just a tattoo. The next day, when she wakes up, she sees something strange about the place. She tells Clayton that a car alarm goes off exactly every other day at 11 a.m., which is when Clayton comes to her house every day. The same time, the same car, and the same sound. Clayton doesn't care about the strange things and tells Ellen that it's a big city with lots of sounds. Ellen thinks Lana comes back into the flat later that night, but when she touches her shoulder, it's Lana's violent husband. He tells her to stop being crazy and leave his wife alone. Ellen feels scared, so she asks Clayton to come to her house right away. Clayton comes and makes her feel better. Clayton tells her at that time that he cares about her, but Ellen says she doesn't want a boyfriend right now because she needs a caregiver more than a lover. Clayton leaves the room because he is sad. As soon as Clayton leaves, the guy in the gas mask comes after her again. As the attacker puts a needle in Ellen's neck, she calls 911 before she passes out. Later, the rescuer tells her that she doesn't seem to be hurt and that there isn't a needle mark on her neck. When Detective Bryce comes in, he tells her that the CCTV also shows that Clayton is the only person who goes into the flat after him. When Ellen hears that, she feels upset and can no longer trust her own thoughts because she feels alone in her life and thinks someone is after her. Climb up to the rooftop fence and jump off. But Ellen doesn't die when she falls 6 feet. She is fine. She finds out quickly that she is in a room that blocks out noise, a room with no entrance. The sounds of the city are played through speakers in the room. A made-up city and a made-up high-rise. She quickly figures out that the apartment she was living in was fake and that all the noises she heard outside were coming from a sound system. She hears the car alarm go off at 11 a.m. and gets back into her apartment. After she gets back into her apartment, she checks out the hallway and finds that she can't get out. So she goes outside and knocks on Lana's door. Lana tells her that this is home and that she can't go anywhere else. Then Clayton comes to make Ellen's dinner. When they sit down to dinner, Clayton knocks twice on the table. Ellen knows this double tap knock and sees that everyone she's talked to since the attack has the same knock. Then she realizes that everyone she's met since waking up in the hospital was Clayton, including the nurse, the doctor, the police officer, the rescuer, and Lana's husband. Realizing this, she pretends to drop her drink and hits him on the head with the knife block. She takes his key and a taser right away and runs down the hall into the apartment next door. But it's actually a weird, empty storage room where Clayton keeps all his outfits and everything else he needs for this trick. Clayton has been pretending to be everyone else by wearing different clothes. Even more surprising, Ellen finds her attacker's outfit, which shows that Clayton was the one who attacked Ellen to make her blind and then took her to this fake apartment to keep her captive. Then she finds Lana in a secret room. Lana is real. This is the fake hospital room where she was taken at the start of the movie. She tells Clayton that she is his sister and that she helped him take Ellen. Then she tells Ellen that the only way they can get out is through the secret vent in Clayton's room. Ellen is trying to get away, but Clayton catches up to her, knocks her out, and drags her into his room. Lana had already said that the only way out was through a vent in the wall in this room. Ellen feels the air coming out of the vent and realizes she still has a chance to get out. Clayton starts talking to himself about what he did after his mother died when he was a child. His father locked him and his sister Lana in the basement and kept them there for 3 years. Clayton had only been able to stay alive by making up people in his head, giving them backstories and acting like them. But the music that Lana played for them in the attic was what really saved him. Ellen, a child genius who played the violin, made the music he heard. He calls her his light in the darkness. Now he wanted to be the same for her, as he tells her his story and why he did what he did. Ellen sees an opportunity to knock him out with the taser. She opens the vent, but it's too small for her to crawl through. Ellen finds a small bottle of the same thing that made her go blind taped inside the vent. When Clayton comes back, she sprays the stuff in his eyes, making him go blind as well. Lana gets there as Clayton is writhing in pain. When she sees that Clayton is hurt, she lets Ellen out into the real world. 6 months later, an excited crowd can be heard as Ellen gets ready to go on stage. Thanks for watching. Click this video to enjoy another best movie explained in less time.